Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive with us.
Yeah.
Today we're tackling something I know a lot of you are interested in, delivery manager interviews.
Yeah, I get you ready for those.
Exactly, and we're going deep with a resource a lot of you probably already use, Indeed.com.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and we're going to go beyond like the surface level tips.
Hmm.
We really want to unpack what interviewers are actually looking for.
Like, what's the secret sauce, right?
Yeah, the secret sauce. All right,
Sure.
so Indeed starts off strong by defining a delivery manager. And,
That's okay.
it's not just about like, hitting deadlines and, staying under budget.
Right. It's more than just like checking boxes.
It's way more than that. So they talk about overseeing timely delivery, keeping projects within budget, making sure the team's working well together, but then they also hit on problem solving, stakeholder management, and leadership.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that's something that's really evolved in the delivery manager role over the years. It's become much more strategic and customer centric.
Absolutely. Like you're not just like the project robot,
Really, you're a leader.
You're a leader.
Yeah.
You're a people person.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so speaking of leadership, Indeed breaks down these desired skills for a delivery manager. And it's not surprising they list communication, leadership, project management, risk handling, decision making,
Right. All the good stuff.
all the good stuff.
Yeah.
But, it's not enough to just like say, oh yeah, I'm a great communicator.
Yeah.
You've got to like show it. Right?
Yeah, we got to prove it.
How do you prove that in an interview?
Well, I think it's all about telling stories, right? So instead of just listing off like, oh, I worked on this project, I did this, I did that, think about specific instances where you demonstrated these skills.
That's good. Okay, so give me an example.
So let's say communication, right?
Yeah.
Did you implement a new communication strategy that like totally streamlined collaboration on a project?
Okay.
Or like, did you have a really difficult conversation with a stakeholder and you managed to navigate that successfully? Yeah. Those are the stories that are going to like really make those skills come to life.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's about storytelling.
Storytelling for sure.
Okay. Well, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the questions that you're going to get in an interview. And Indeed has a whole section on this, and some of these questions are tough.
Yeah, they're designed to make you think.
They really are.
Yeah.
Like one that I was like, ooh, that's a good one is, how do you prioritize your work as a delivery manager?
Right?
Which seems like a simple question, but
I bet there's a lot more to it.
it's more than just making a to-do list.
It's about strategy, right? It's not just about reacting to whatever's the loudest or, the most urgent deadline.
Right.
Indeed gives a decent sample answer. They talk about like assessing impact and urgency, talking to stakeholders, balancing those immediate needs with the long-term goals. But I think we can go a little deeper here, give some techniques that will really impress those interviewers.
Okay, what are some things that our listener could mention?
All right, so one classic technique that never fails is the Eisenhower matrix.
Okay, I've heard of this.
Okay, so picture a 4-quadrant grid. You categorize tasks based on agency and importance.
Okay.
So urgent and important, top left corner, that's like your do it now stuff.
Got it.
Then you have important but not urgent things like strategic planning, relationship building, top right.
Okay.
Those are crucial for long-term success, but they often get pushed aside.
They do.
Right? Then you've got the urgent but not important stuff, like those last-minute requests that you could probably delegate.
Yeah.
And finally, that not urgent, not important stuff, maybe you can eliminate that altogether.
Get rid of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's a good visual. Like I can see how that would help somebody make those tough choices.
Right, gives you a system.
Yeah.
Another powerful technique is stakeholder mapping.
Stakeholder mapping.
Yeah, so you identify all the key players in your project and you assess their level of influence and interest. So by understanding their priorities, their perspectives, you can tailor your communication and decision-making.
Okay, so you really know who you're talking to.
You got to know your audience, right?
Yeah.
So you can ensure alignment and minimize potential conflict.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah.
So it's not just about like the task, it's about the people.
The people are everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, so showcasing these techniques shows that you're thoughtful. You have a system. You're not just like winging it.
Yeah, you're prepared.
You got this.
All right, so let's move on to another big one. I think we can all relate to this, stress management.
Oh, yeah.
How do you handle those high-pressure situations that are pretty much guaranteed in this role?
Right. It comes with the territory.
It does so. Indeed's answer is, maintain work-life balance.
Yeah.
Take breaks.
It's a good starting point.
It is. But let's give our listeners some more proactive strategies.
Let's get tactical.
Yeah, tactile.
All right, so one of my favorites is time blocking.
Time block.
So instead of letting your to-do list control you, You proactively block out time for specific tasks.
Okay.
This gives you a sense of control. You can allocate your energy effectively.
Okay, like that.
Another crucial one is delegation.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to do everything yourself, right?
Right.
Identify tasks that can be delegated, free up your time, empowers your team members.
It's a win-win.
Win-win, exactly.
Okay. And then, of course, communication is key.
Always.
When expectations are clear, everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
You avoid so much unnecessary stress and confusion.
Right. Regular check-ins, keep those communication channels open, address potential roadblocks proactively.
It's all about being proactive.
Be proactive. Prevent those small issues from becoming major headaches.
Oh, that's good advice. Okay, so we've talked about prioritization, stress management. Let's move on to another challenging aspect, conflict resolution.
Oh.
Indeed talks about active listening, finding common ground, which are important.
Essential.
But
Yeah.
how can our listener really level up and impress the interviewer?
All right. Well, I think we can introduce the concept of conflict styles.
Okay, conflict styles. I like this.
So there are 5 main styles: accommodating, avoiding, collaborating, competing, and compromising.
Okay, 5. That's a lot to unpack. Give me the quick rundown.
All right. So accommodating means you're prioritizing the other person's needs over your own.
Okay,
Avoiding is pretty self-explanatory. You're just avoiding the conflict.
right.
Collaborating means you're working together to find a solution that satisfies everyone.
Okay.
Competing means you're asserting your own needs, pushing for your outcome.
Okay.
And compromising is finding that middle ground where everybody makes concessions.
So it's like picking the right tool for the job.
Exactly. It's not one size fits, all right? So in the interview, share an example where you assess the conflict, chose a specific style based on the context, and navigated the situation successfully.
That's great advice because it shows you can adapt.
Adapt and make informed decisions under pressure.
Love it. All right, so we've got prioritization, stress management, conflict resolution. What other, tricky questions should our listener be ready for?
Let's talk about underperformance on your team.
Ooh, okay.
So how do you handle that?
Yeah.
Indeed, sample answer talks about open communication, providing support, knowing when to escalate.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take it a step further, give some concrete strategies.
Yes, because this is where leadership really comes in.
It does, right?
Right.
So let's say you have a team member who's consistently missing deadlines or delivering subpar work.
Okay.
First step, address the issue directly, but with empathy.
Okay.
Try to understand the root cause.
Get to the heart of it.
Right. Is it personal challenges, skill gaps, lack of clarity around expectations?
Right. So many things could be.
Yeah. And then tailor your approach accordingly.
Okay.
So skill gap, maybe offer training or mentorship. Lack of clarity, reinforce those expectations, provide more guidance.
Okay. What if it's like they're just not getting it?
Well, then you might need to implement a more formal performance improvement plan. So document specific goals, outline clear expectations, set timelines for improvement.
Right.
Regular check-ins, ongoing feedback are crucial here.
So it's like a structured approach.
Structured and documented.
Okay.
Keep a record of conversations agreed upon, actions, progress, setbacks.
Okay, cover your you-know-what?
Exactly. It protects both you and the employee and ensures a fair and transparent process.
That's great advice. Okay, let's move on to another coin that's probably on everyone's mind. Tight deadlines.
Oh, yeah, those are fun.
How do you handle them when the pressure's on?
Right.
So Indeed actually gives a really good example of a delivery manager who, totally crushed it with a shortened timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But what are the key takeaways here?
Well, they emphasize clear communication, being transparent with stakeholders, proactively adjusting plans.
Okay, so break that down for us.
Okay, so first up, assess the situation realistically.
Okay.
Can you meet this deadline with the resources you have?
Yeah.
If not, what needs to change?
Yeah.
Communicate clearly and transparently with everyone involved. Explain the challenges, propose solutions, manage those expectations proactively.
So be upfront. Don't sugarcoat it.
Honesty is the best policy.
Right. And then be flexible. Be adaptable.
Yeah.
Can you reprioritize? Can you delegate? Can you use your resources more effectively?
That's where those problem-solving skills come in.
Right. You've got to think outside the box.
Get creative.
And it's okay to ask for help.
Yes. Don't be afraid to reach out to your team, your manager, other stakeholders.
That's a good reminder because sometimes you just need that extra support.
You're not alone.
All right, so we've covered a lot, but Indeed has a few more intriguing questions.
Oh, good.
Let's peek at those before we wrap up this part of our deep dive.
All right, so these questions are less about specific scenarios and more about your overall approach.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
All right, so one that I find really insightful is, how do you ensure quality in project delivery?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right, because this is where you go beyond checking boxes and you show your commitment to delivering those exceptional results.
Okay, I like that.
Right, so it's not about meeting the bare minimum, it's about going above and beyond.
Yeah, how do you show that in an interview, though?
Okay, so think about it like this. You're building a house.
Okay.
You wouldn't just focus on getting the walls up and the roof on as quickly as possible, would you?
No.
You'd want to make sure that foundation is solid, the materials are top-notch, the craftsmanship is impeccable,
Right.
because you understand that quality isn't just about speed.
Right.
It's about durability, functionality, creating something that's going to last.
Okay, I like that analogy. So
Awesome.
how does that apply to, like, project delivery?
Well, it means thinking about quality from the very beginning.
Okay.
Involve your team in setting those quality standards. Define those metrics for success. Build in quality checks throughout the project lifecycle.
Okay.
Don't just react to problems, anticipate them.
Be proactive.
Be proactive, put those preventative measures in place.
Love it. So it's about weaving quality into, like, the whole process.
Yeah. The whole process, exactly. And remember, quality isn't just about the end product, it's also about the process.
Oh. Okay.
How well does your team collaborate? Are you managing risks effectively? Are you communicating clearly and transparently?
Those are all important.
These factors all contribute to the overall quality,
Yeah, the big picture.
the big picture.
All right, last question before we move on to part 2. Indeed asks, can you describe an instance when you had to make a critical decision under pressure?
Ooh, a tough one.
Yeah, this is a tough one. This feels like a real test of your leadership.
It is. It's about your decision-making process, your ability to think clearly under pressure, your willingness to take risks.
Yeah. So you're not going to have all the answers, but you have to show them how you handle those tough situations.
Exactly.
Oh.
So choose a situation where you had to make a decision with limited information, maybe under a tight deadline with conflicting opinions.
Oh, yeah.
Walk them through your thought process. How did you gather information? What factors did you consider? How did you arrive at your decision?
So it's about having a framework for making those tough calls.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay if the outcome wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
What matters is that you can articulate your reasoning, demonstrate that you learned from the experience, and show that you're capable of making those high-stakes decisions with confidence.
So own it.
Own it. Learn from it.
Okay, I love that. So that wraps up part 1 of our deep dive into delivery manager interviews we've unpacked. Indeed's insights explored those challenging questions and really tried to give our listeners the tools to ace those interviews.
Yeah, we've given you a lot to think about.
But there's more to come in part 2.
So stay tuned. We'll be back with more insights and strategies.
We'll see you there. All right, welcome back to our deep dive into delivery manager interviews. We're picking up right where we left off with more of those insightful questions from Indeed.com.
And this next batch really gets into resource management.
Ooh, resource management.
Yeah, like a core part of the delivery manager role.
Absolutely. Okay, so what's the first resource management challenge our listeners should be ready to discuss?
One common question is all about how you allocate resources for a project.
Oh, resource allocation.
Yeah, so interviewers want to see that you can think strategically about how you use your team's time, skills, budget, all of that to achieve those project goals.
Right, so it's not just like throwing darts at a board and being like, you do this, you do this.
Exactly. It's about making informed decisions, understanding those project needs and priorities.
Right, matching the right people with the right skills.
Exactly. And, you might mention different models you've used in the past, like prioritizing tasks based on impact or using a skills matrix to match team members with tasks that fit their expertise.
Okay, so it's really about maximizing everyone's strengths.
Yeah, making sure everyone's efforts are aligned with those big picture goals.
The big picture. I love it. Okay, so speaking of tough decisions,
Yeah.
Indeed also asks about managing a project with a tight budget.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
That sounds like a real test.
It is. It's about making trade-offs, right?
Right.
Finding creative solutions, stretching those resources without compromising quality.
Right, so not cutting corners, but being resourceful.
Exactly. And this is where your storytelling skills come in handy.
Oh, tell me more.
Maybe you had to negotiate with a vendor to get better pricing.
Yeah.
Or found a clever way to repurpose existing resources.
Okay, so real-world examples.
Real-world examples make it relatable.
Make it real.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about communication.
Okay.
So Indeed has this question about ensuring clear and effective communication within a team, which seems pretty obvious.
Yeah, but it's crucial.
It is crucial, especially with all those moving parts.
Right. So many stakeholders, different communication styles, channels, frequencies. It can get messy.
So how do you wrangle all of that?
Well, this is your chance to show off your communication bid box.
Okay, I like that.
Talk about implementing regular team meetings, establishing those clear communication protocols, maybe using project management tools to keep everyone on the same page.
Right, because technology could be a huge help.
It can, especially with communication and collaboration.
Yeah, keeping everything organized.
And transparent.
Transparent. I like that. All right, so speaking of tools, Indeed asks about the metrics you use to track project success.
Ah, the data.
The data, this is where the numbers come in.
Yeah, show them you're data-driven.
Okay, so what kind of metrics are we talking about?
On-time delivery rate, budget variance, customer satisfaction scores, team velocity, whatever's relevant to the project and the organization's goals.
So it's about showing them that you can measure what matters.
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
not just about the numbers themselves. It's about understanding the story behind those numbers.
Oh, okay.
Using that data to spot trends, identify potential issues, and course correct.
So data-driven decision-making.
Exactly. Turning data into insights and then insights into action.
I love it. Okay, let's talk about client management.
All right.
So Indeed throws in a question about handling a difficult client
Uh-oh.
who isn't satisfied with the project.
Yeah, those conversations can be tough.
It's like the dreaded email you don't want to open.
But it's a chance to show off your emotional intelligence, your conflict resolution skills.
Okay, so how do you handle that?
Approach the situation with empathy. Listen tactively, try to understand their perspective.
Put yourself in their shoes.
Exactly, because often that dissatisfaction comes from unmet expectations or miscommunication.
Right, so sometimes it's just a matter of clearing things up.
Right, and finding that common ground.
Common ground.
Yeah.
Okay, and sometimes it's about setting those realistic expectations up front.
Yes. Managing those expectations throughout the project lifecycle can prevent so many headaches.
Headache prevention is key.
It's a good strategy. Okay, so let's face it, things don't always go according to plan,
That's the truth.
right? Indeed asks about a time when a project went off the rails and how you handled it.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right, so this is your chance to show them your resilience, your problem-solving skills, your ability to learn from setbacks.
So it's not about pretending you're perfect.
No, it's about being honest, explaining how you address the issues, what you learn from the experience.
So turn those setbacks into learning opportunities.
Exactly. Show them you can grow from those challenges.
Okay, back to the practical side. Indeed asks about the tools you use to manage your team's workload and deadlines.
Ah, the tech tools.
This is where you can show off your tech savvy.
Right. So mention those popular project management tools like Jira, Asana, Trello.
Okay, the big names.
But don't just name drop them. Explain how you use them to track progress, allocate tasks, communicate effectively.
Right, so it's not just about knowing the names, it's about understanding how they work.
Exactly. And the specific tools aren't as important as the principles behind them.
Okay,
Whether it's fancy software or a simple spreadsheet, what matters is that you have a system that works for you and your team.
a system that keeps things moving.
Keeps things moving. Okay, so let's wrap up this part with the million-dollar question for any delivery manager.
Okay, hit me with it.
How do you balance client satisfaction with those project constraints like time and budget?
Oh yeah, the eternal struggle.
It's a balancing act for sure, meeting those client needs while staying within scope and constraints.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
The sweet spot where everyone's happy.
Well, as happy as you can be in project management.
Right. Well, this is where your leadership skills really come into play, setting clear expectations up front, open communication throughout the project, and being willing to have those tough conversations.
It's like you're the conductor of an orchestra
Exactly. Orchestrating all those different elements.
to create a beautiful symphony of project success.
Hopefully a symphony.
Okay, before we move on to the final part of our deep dive,
Hmm.
any other words of wisdom about these questions or just the interview in general?
Well, remember, these are just examples. The specific questions you get might be different.
Right, every interview is unique.
But those core principles we talked about, strategic thinking, communication, problem solving, delivering value, those are always going to be important.
So focus on the fundamentals.
The fundamentals, and then adapt them to the specific situation.
Okay, so don't just memorize answers, understand the concepts.
Understand the why behind the what.
I love that. All right, ready for the final round?
Bring it on.
Okay, we're back for the final stretch of our delivery manager interview deep dive.
Yeah.
We've covered a ton of ground, but Indeed still has a few more of those thought-provoking questions up their sleeve. Are you ready for the grand finale?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right, bring on the wisdom. What's the first question on our agenda for this last part?
Well, one that I always find interesting is, Describe how you ensure quality in project delivery.
Okay, quality.
Yeah, and it's not just about checking boxes and meeting deadlines. It's really about understanding what quality truly means,
Hmm.
within the context of the specific project and what the customer actually needs.
I like that it's about going above and beyond, not just meeting the bare minimum.
Exactly.
So how can our listener really showcase that deeper understanding of quality in an interview setting?
Okay, think about it like this. Imagine you're building a house.
Okay.
You wouldn't just focus on like getting the walls up and the roof on as quickly as possible, would you?
No, definitely not.
Right, you'd want to make sure that the foundation is solid, the materials are top-notch, the craftsmanship is impeccable.
Yeah. You want it to last.
Right, because you understand that quality isn't just about speed, it's about durability functionality, creating something that's going to stand the test of time.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Mhm.
So how does that translate to project delivery?
Well, it means thinking holistically about quality from the very beginning.
Okay.
So involve your team in setting those quality standards, define clear metrics for success, build in quality check throughout the project lifecycle.
Okay.
Don't just react to problems, anticipate them, and put those preventative measures in place.
Be proactive.
Be proactive, exactly.
So it's about weaving quality into the entire process from start to finish.
The whole process, and remember, quality isn't just about the end product.
Hey.
It's also about the process itself.
Okay.
How well does your team collaborate? Are you effectively managing risks? Are you communicating clearly and transparently?
Yeah, all those behind the scenes things.
Exactly. All of those factors contribute to the overall quality of the project.
The big picture.
The big picture. All right, so let's move on to the last question on Indeed's list, and it's a big one.
Okay, hit me with it.
Can you describe an instance when you had to make a critical decision under pressure?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
It is, but it's also an opportunity to really showcase your leadership skills, your decision-making process, your ability to stay calm under pressure, and your willingness to take those calculated risks.
Okay, so it's not about always having the right answer, but more about how you approach those tough situations.
Exactly. Choose a situation where you had to make a decision. Maybe you didn't have all the information, or you had a tight deadline, or there were conflicting opinions from stakeholders.
Yeah, those are all very real scenarios.
Right. And then walk the interviewer through your thought process.
Okay.
How did you gather the information you needed? What factors did you consider? And how did you ultimately arrive at your decision?
So it's about showing that you have a framework for making those tough calls, even when there's no easy answer.
Exactly. And it's okay if the outcome wasn't perfect. What really matters is that you can explain your reasoning, show that you learned from it, and that you're capable of making those high-stakes decisions with confidence and clarity.
I love that. So own your decisions and learn from that.
Exactly.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of delivery manager interviews.
Wow, we made it.
We did. We dissected Indeed's insights. We tackled those challenging questions, and hopefully we armed our listeners with the tools they need to ace those interviews.
I think we did a good job.
Yeah, I think so too. But before we say goodbye, any final words of wisdom for our listeners as they head off on their interview journey?
Preparation is key, but don't forget to be yourself. Let your personality shine through. Be genuine in your responses and show them your passion for what you do.
I love that. And don't forget, the interview is a two-way street.
That's right.
Ask those insightful questions. Get a feel for the company culture. Trust your instincts.
And here's a final thought to ponder as you go forward. How will you define success in this role? Not just in terms of meeting deadlines and budgets, but in terms of making a real impact on the customers and the team you serve.
That's a great question to reflect on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We wish you all the best in your interviews, and remember, go out there and rock it.